What happens when one of Hollywood's most private stars finally speaks from the heart? Johnny Depp, the man who spent decades living behind characters and headlines, shocked everyone when he confessed, "I'm done with fairy tales." It sounded simple, almost casual, but it carried a weight that stopped people in their tracks. Because for a man like Johnny Depp, who has always been wrapped in mystery and surrounded by stories, stepping forward with those words wasn't just personal, it was revolutionary. They weren't words from a script. They weren't crafted for an audience. They were his truth. And maybe, just maybe, they were the truth for all of us too. For years, Johnny's life looked like a movie. A whirlwind of fame, music, and romance. From the outside, it seemed glamorous. Headlines painted him as the mysterious star, the man every story circled around, the artist who could have it all. But behind that image was a person who admitted he was chasing something that was never really there. A version of love that looked perfect, but wasn't. A version that belonged to stories and fairy tales, not to life. He explained how he used to believe in the storybook version of love, the grand gestures, the sparks, the idea that once you find the right person, everything will magically fall into place. And isn't that what we've all been told? From childhood, we're shown pictures of perfect endings. Prince meets princess, obstacles vanish, they ride into the sunset and live happily ever after. The same themes play out in books, movies, even songs on the radio. We're raised to think that love is supposed to be flawless, magical, eternal. But Depp's confession cut right through that dream. He admitted that those fairy tales don't exist. Not in real life. Love, he said, isn't about how things look on the outside. It's not about the red carpet moments, the photos, or the public applause. Love is about what happens when no one else is watching. Who is there when the lights go off? Who chooses to stay when the excitement fades? Who holds you steady when life isn't perfect? That's where the truth of love is found. And the irony is striking. Johnny Depp, the man who literally built his career on worlds of fantasy and imagination, was the one standing there saying, "I'm done with the illusions." He wasn't dismissing love. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't giving up. He was redefining it. He was stripping away the fantasy and choosing the reality. And that's what made it powerful. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you compared your relationship, or even your lack of one, to what you see in movies or online? You scroll through feeds filled with smiling couples on vacations, anniversaries, candlelit dinners, and you wonder, why doesn't my life look like that? Why doesn't love feel that way all the time? That's the trap Depp is talking about. We compare our messy, complicated reality to polished, curated fairy tales. And then we feel like we're failing. But maybe we're not failing. Maybe we're just living in the real world. For him, the turning point was heartbreak. After living through relationships that were written about endlessly and picked apart by strangers, he realized the gap between fantasy and reality was too wide to ignore. The dream of perfection was crushing the truth of connection. That's when he chose to let go. To stop searching for something flawless and start appreciating something honest. When he said, "I'm done with fairy tales," it wasn't with sadness. It was with relief. He wasn't closing the door on love. He was opening it wider than ever. Because real love isn't scripted. It doesn't come with perfect dialogue or smooth edits. It's awkward, it's raw, it's unpredictable. And that's exactly what makes it beautiful. The more you think about it, the more sense it makes. Psychologists often say one of the biggest struggles in relationships is unrealistic expectations. We think it should always feel like the honeymoon phase, always filled with passion and fire. But the truth is, love changes shape over time. It deepens. It quiets. It becomes less about fireworks and more about foundation. And the couples who understand that are the ones who last. Johnny's words were a reflection of that truth. He wasn't saying love is hopeless. He was saying love is human. And that's what we need to embrace. Because the pressure to live up to a fairy tale only leads to disappointment. When the spark fades, when the passion cools, when reality sets in, we think something is broken. But in fact, nothing is broken. That's just the beginning of a different kind of love. The kind that isn't built on illusions, but on choices. Choices to keep showing up, to forgive, to grow, to stay. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop chasing the fairy tale, that's when the real magic starts. Not the Hollywood kind. Not the scripted kind. The real kind. The magic of a partner who laughs with you on ordinary mornings. The magic of being understood without saying a word. The magic of someone holding your hand when you feel like falling apart. That's the kind of magic Johnny was talking about when he walked away from illusions. It's easy to romanticize grand gestures. Flowers, trips, candlelit dinners, they're nice, but they fade. What lasts are the little things. The daily kindness. The loyalty. The effort in the small, unglamorous moments. That's what makes love powerful. And that's what most of us forget when we're too busy chasing perfection. Depp's confession is more than just Hollywood gossip. It's a lesson. A reminder that the stories we see on screen aren't the standard. They're entertainment. Life doesn't have to look like that. Love doesn't have to feel like that. And honestly, thank goodness it doesn't. Because what we gain in reality is far deeper than what any fairy tale could promise. Let's get real for a moment. If you've ever been in a relationship, you know it's not always fireworks. Sometimes it's disagreements, sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's long silences. But those moments don't mean love is gone. They mean love is real. And working through them, choosing each other despite them, is where the true strength lies. That's what Depp was pointing to. Love isn't a dream. It's a practice. So what do we do with this lesson? Maybe we stop waiting for perfect. Maybe we stop measuring our lives against curated illusions. Maybe we start valuing the quiet, steady, messy truth of connection. Because in the end, those are the relationships that last. Those are the relationships that matter. Johnny's words weren't bitter. They were liberating. They were the words of someone who had lived long enough, loved hard enough, and lost deeply enough to finally see through the fantasy. And instead of clinging to illusions, he chose freedom. He chose honesty. He chose reality. And maybe that's what we all need to do too. So I want to leave you with a question. Do you agree with Johnny? Do you believe love is stronger when we let go of the fairy tale? Or do you still hold on to the idea of happily ever after? There's no wrong answer, but maybe it's worth thinking about. Because if a man who spent his life inside stories of magic and fantasy can admit the truth about love, maybe it's a truth we all need to face too. And as you sit with that, remember this, real love may not look perfect, but it feels real. And at the end of the day, that's worth more than any fairy tale.